first one that came up here is you were doing all the changes in the web UI. When we import and export the settings, where are these saved? Is it on the PC side?
Yeah, it's on the PC side, and you can select any folder on your PC where you want them stored. Again, when you input, you get a pop-up from your Finder or Explorer, depending if you're on Windows or on Mac, and you can simply select the import file again. So it's stored locally on your PC.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the presets. The CDA4, there was one question that was answered, but maybe not the whole audience may have received that. So there was a question, does the CDA4D have also presets for subwoofers? And the answer was yes, presets for ISW 3, 4, and 6. Talking about these presets, I see that you're selected mostly CI speakers. What if you have a hybrid system and some users may have, for example, component speakers in the same setup? What would you do in this case? Because I don't think there are presets for the component speakers. It's only limited to CI, right?
Yes, that's true. And maybe I know Hamish or Keith, you can answer this question, what the right rate is, because of course we want to focus on CI speakers, but of course there are some cases that you want to drive a 600 or a 700 speaker with this. What is your recommendation here, to select a user preset, or what is the best way?
So mainly they are for the custom installation products only, but as Johan, you showed the user preset, so you could do the core speakers using a user preset and do the profile manually, and integrate that with the CI product presets that's been selected. So there is a limitation on for example, the 4D only support ISW3, 4, and 6 because of the power limitation or the requirement, whereas the 2HD, a much bigger wattage or much bigger amplifier, that will be powering, for example, ISW8 and all the CT subs. So there is a differentiator. That's why you don't see all the sub in the 4-channel. It's only recommended or showing what's available in terms of amplification power and the product usage. And that's all. Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Another question, could you please elaborate a little bit more on AVB? Is it similar to Dante? There's a couple of different varieties, flavors, so to speak. So exactly AVB, what does it and how does it work?
Yeah,
AVB. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so I think in terms of what we're emphasizing as AVB, yes, it's kind of the set of sort of protocols, but a lot of brands use it differently. So what we're emphasizing in this case is, whilst we're using AVB, it's so that you could share inputs throughout our kind of range of devices. So if you did have a commercial setup, for example, and you wanted to kind of spread out the units, you didn't want to run long kind of cable sets, then for example you could do that over the network. And if you had a 4D in one room and a 4D at the other side of the building, then you could share that the input which is going locally to the first device, for example. But there isn't as such communication or collaboration with other brands at the moment.
No, and also to add to that, what you do need in an AVB setup is that you have you need a designated AVB switch. They're not really expensive, and you have quite easy for Motu. I know a 5 ports one, so an uplink, and then you can hook up to 4 amplifiers to that switch. So that's also what you keep in mind. If you want to use this feature, you need an additional switch where you hook up your amplifiers to. So it's very straightforward, just like connecting an unmanaged switch, more or less. Have an uplink to your main switch, and then hook up your amplifiers to that AVB switch to make that work. And an AVB switch is reserving, I think, 80–90% of its processing power for managing the audio, comparing to a normal switch. So that's needed for a stable system.
All right, and that brings us to the next question: how many amps can be linked or managed together then in this case?
I don't know if there's a real limitation. it's more depending if you want to use that AVB functionality or simply want to use it as separate switches. But if you want to do, I don't know what the biggest AVB switch is. I saw 24, 48 ports already available. Of course, they are a little bit more expensive. I don't know if you know that question, Hamish, but I don't think there is a real limitation there.
Just in terms of our testing, and we'll have some results that I could, I suppose, privately share in terms of delay and that sort of stuff. But 30 devices will be what we're testing at the moment. So 30 devices sharing an input from one local device, and that could be, that's a range of 2HDs and 4Ds spread across that.
Yeah, that's also quite extensive then.
Yeah, that'd be quite a big system, wouldn't
it? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So question back to you, Hamish, then. So you were talking about the delay. How much delay should we account for using the new DSP amps in terms of how many milliseconds?
Yeah, sure. So again, I can kind of share some test results on this, but circa 2 milliseconds is kind of what we're seeing at the moment. I think with the AVB stuff, again, there's some kind of outliers which could be related to network and that sort of thing, but kind of local to local, then 2 milliseconds, yeah.
Okay, next question about the CDA16. If the CDA16 is used as an 8-zone amplifier with individual input signals, do all power amplifiers switch on as soon as the input signal is detected at one input, or only for the respective zone? I think you mentioned something about delays that you can set for switching on. I'm not sure if this is applicable to this one.
No, this is not for the CDA16. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it will power on entirely, right, Keith? If one zone,
so, yes.
Yeah. So that I think answers the question. So it won't only power the two.
Yeah. Okay, that makes it all on. It makes perfectly sense. Question from Joe. With the CDA4, are you able to set up 4 separate mono zones since we have 4 individual?
Yep. I can even show you. I can switch back to my browser. So
it's good to be able to show this live, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So if I first, what you want to do is first select mono, because it will reset your selected preset you want to do here, and then you can even set up different speakers per channel. So you're not able to do that in stereo mode, but you are able to do this in mono mode. Like this. Here you go.
Okay. Sorry, back to CDA16. Can we bind the global pre-out to a particular zone only, for example, so that we can use some active subwoofers for that zone?
You only have one, let's say, pre-out, and that's for the global out. Can switch back to the slideshow. I don't know exactly what he means by that, but if I'm switching back to that slide, so you have one global output on the far right, so the last RCA output. That's you should be able to run to an active subwoofer or CDA 4 or 2. With this global link, you are able to link, let's say, one zone. But yeah, it's if you only want to do one, you can use the global input. So that's in principle zone 8, and then there's automatically an output on that global global output, which you then can use for running to an active sub, or yeah, let's say a sub amplifier. I don't know if that's what he meant, but that's possible for one zone.
Again, here that's a question from Anand. So Anand, if this is answering your question, then we're good to go. If not, please repost or clarify your question, then we can go further into detail. Somebody is asking, what do we mean by CI speaker and CI subwoofer? CI, of course, stands for custom installation.
Yeah, so those are speakers which you hide inside your walls, your ceiling, but also our subwoofers. So I guess we all know active floor standing subwoofers, which have a built-in amplifier. That's not what you want if you build in your subwoofer inside a wall or a cabinet or stuff like that. Then you want to separate those two together. So that's why all ISW subs we call passive subwoofers, which don't have any electronics built in. So what you also should do is run a normal speaker cable from your system or your rack to your subwoofer, and then have the amplifier, which is with an active server built inside the subwoofer. You have it totally separate, and most of the times in a controlled environment like an air conditioned room where the rack is placed. So of course, due to heat and stuff like that, you don't want to build that inside a wall or cabinet, and that's why we separate those two together. So yeah, looking at, let's say, an CDA2 HD together with an ISW 8, that's more or less the subwoofer solution we're talking about, which you maybe are normally used with an active subwoofer. So that's why where custom install stands for. ISW stands simply for install subwoofer. If you want to know that those 3 letters.
Okay. Then about the CDAs, those are distribution amplifiers. Are these amplifiers to be used exclusively for CI and CTs of the speakers, or can they be used for others? Let's say floor standards, components. Just one slide I think that you showed where you had high frequency and mid frequency for one channel and a low frequency, but that's also a CT speaker. What about component speaker? Is that possible at all? Or?
This is quite a different speaker, because here we really separate the high frequency and mid frequency and the low frequency. So you need more or less 2 amplifiers to power the speaker anyhow. Most floor standing speakers we normally have, like a normal 700 or 600 speaker, they have a built-in crossover, so you only need 1 amplifier to, let's say, drive all units that are in the speaker. Yeah, the CDA2 HD and the and the 4D are mainly developed for driving CI speakers, but nothing limits you to not use this for normal component speakers as well. The only thing is we don't have presets for those, so you really need to see have a user preset, see how that sounds, and you maybe want to do some modifications yourself for getting the sound you want. So that's it's a lot more easier to drive a CI speaker, but you can, of course, hook up a normal speaker as well.
Check out more videos below and support our channel by hitting the like button. If you want any of our latest videos, please remember to subscribe and check the bell icon so you'll get notified whenever our new content is released. Please leave any thoughts or questions in the comments section. Thanks for watching.